Crazy game. That's all I have to say. But glad to get a win. These turnovers are, man, they're very disappointing. But I am proud of the guys for playing really good defense in the second half, despite the turnovers. To have a team to shoot 20 more shots than us and us have 24 turnovers and win by 7, it says a lot about how good we can be. Uh, at some point, we have to turn the corner with these turnovers.
I mean, do you feel like the success at the free throw line, like canceled out the turnovers? Like, was that?
Yeah, I'm glad we stayed aggressive in that from that standpoint. Tried to get 15 to 20 because we don't shoot a lot of free throws because we shoot so many threes. Today we were 7 for 14 from 3, which was great. And we got to the free throw line and shot 27 free throws. So that did kind of offset the turnovers because we got to the free throw line.
Coach, it's sort of been one thing after the next in terms of adversity for your team this year. Do you eventually just run out of things to tell them, and what do you make of sort of their response today?
No, you can't. You got to keep plugging. You got to keep motivating. You can't run out of things to say, really, because they understand what this is. We've been here before. DJ being injured is like Lester getting hurt. And the boys rally together, and they're rallying together right now. And the mindset right now is every game is a big game. There are no more small games for us because it's getting too close to, seeding for an NCAA. You got to win out. You got to do everything possible to get a win. You can't give games away that you're supposed to win at home. Not this time of season.
Hey, Coach, your team came out with a lot of energy to start the game, and they finished with a lot of energy to close out the game. What can be done to maximize the energy throughout?
Well, I think the energy needs to be harnessed in certain areas and turn up in certain areas. Today we got more into what you're talking about with the energy. We went to our double fist defense 3 or 4 times in a row when we had Alo, Tyler, Damian, Lester, and I think Precious and or maybe it was Lance. And we got 2 or 3 steals in a row. It was Malcolm. Malcolm got a couple blocks. The energy went up, and we pushed away. But then we started throwing the ball away and let them back into the game.
Coach, besides winning the game, what's one thing that went according to plan, and what's another thing that you feel that the team needs to continue to work on?
I think what went according to plan with us was us getting to the foul line. That was something that I emphasized, the guards being more aggressive, the bigs being more aggressive, and getting to the foul line. The thing that we have to continue to work on is communication and turnovers. I mean, we got to keep communicating. We had some communication problems on the defensive end today that allowed them to get some easy baskets, and we got to get the turnovers down.
Coach, going back to the adversity, when you really look at everything from the season, from James to Lester's hand to the flu to DJ now, how much does that shape the character of this team and kind of prepare them for this last stretch?
Yeah, it shapes us quite well because we've been through everything that you can go through, from teams showing us zone to not scoring in the last 5 minutes of a game to being down big and getting the lead and winning. We've been through so much, and obviously James leaving and Lester breaking his hand and DJ having the flu and then Damian having the flu. So we're fighting. These guys are scrapping, and I'm proud of the effort.
Penny back here. The Lance Thomas phenomenon over these last 2 games, a guy that hardly played, got few minutes, and now has been pivotal in your last 2 wins. How do you explain that?
Well, I mean, you have to ask Lance. Honestly, though, it's just sometimes you just put so much pressure on yourself. It's the same thing with Boogie. Boogie, they were putting too much pressure on themselves. We understood the talent, and they got the same opportunities. Like I told you last week when you were asking me about offense, defense, subs, or whatever, I've been doing that. These guys got the opportunity. What happened this time was it gave Lance the confidence the way UCF played him. They made his guy a plug, what we call a plug guy. They played 10 feet off Lance because he was 1 for 16 from the 3. Lance's first shot was over the basket. They thought he was going to work the plan, and he went and shot the ball really well from that point on. Now, yesterday in practice, he shot it really well. Today, he shot it really well. He's had those same opportunities, and his confidence was just being shook. It's just 2 different people. The same thing with Boogie. It's nothing that we held him back from. He just lost confidence, and that's something that he had to work on, and the same way with Boogie.
Doesn't seem like it seems like you're starting to feel more comfortable with putting more pressure, even though these guys are young and inexperienced. But you said, every game's a must-win game now. Every game's a big game. no worries whatsoever about, applying too much pressure to these.
I mean, if you're in the major D1 right now and you don't understand the magnitude of what's going on, then this level is too high. I mean, they came to a high major program to take it over the hump, and that's what these guys want. I'm not trying to put the pressure on them. The pressure's on the coaches, not on the players. They're young. Our job is to get them prepared and get them ready. I'm not shying away from saying that, in my mind, that every game is a must-win. We don't tell them, hey, you got to be perfect, you got to do this. You guys have fun, let us handle the rest. So it's not like we're going to practice screaming at guys going, we have to win this game. No, let's go out and do what we've been taught. And in the coaches' meetings, we talk about, hey, man, we have to have this win. That's how we talk.
After all those turnovers, Penny, the last 5 minutes, it was clean. There were no turnovers. Is it because they seemed like they were playing deliberately, carefully? Is there something in that they can do all game long, or is
that's us setting up? That's them not really fast breaking. That's me putting a halt on the ball and just saying this is what we're going to run, and we do exceptionally well with that. Well, it's a fine line because we want tempo, but if it continues, it seems like it's going to continue. And today we scored 70, the most points we scored in a minute, and we were down DJ, and a lot of guys really didn't play as many minutes. So it's a fine line from walking it up every time and getting into that. But it seems like, we talked about during the game putting the brakes on and just saying, hey, run set. So in the last 5 minutes, we were just more deliberate because we knew we had the lead, and we were trying to get good shots at the basket without turning over. But to answer your question, we have slowed it down more. It just for spurts. Man, it gets kind of tough. They come in bunches, man, those turnovers.
Coach, over here, just with free throw shooting's been a little bit of a struggle in conference play, but today, 21 and 27 for the line. What does that do? We're talking about confidence, like for this team to be able to hit those in the clutch here in the second half primarily.
It does a lot for their confidence because we weren't making them before, but we weren't going enough. I think if they continue to be aggressive, the more that we go, the more we're going to make. I think when we're 5 for 9 or only shooting 9 and 10 free throws, guys don't get a rhythm. They're shooting more jump shots, obviously not getting contact, but to be aggressive and get into the penalty early and knock down your free throws, I mean, that helps a lot. So their confidence is really high after this game.
Penny, over to your left. They get the news yesterday or whatever this morning that DJ's out. To pull out the win today in the first game without him, how much do you think that does for this group moving forward?
That was huge. That was huge. I mean, we know how much DJ means to us. He missed that Georgia game, and, man, we were devastated, and we knew how much he meant to us. And we were on a 10-game win streak. And once that streak got broken, man, it was heartbreaking. But to win today's game without him, I think it was kind of a rewarding feeling to the guys, like, hey, last time we didn't win it, this time we did.
Coach, what was your message to the team at halftime, and just how big was that block that Boogie got towards the end of the second half?
Well, my message at halftime was just to slow down. Everything was just going so fast. You can just tell they were in a hurry. Understanding pressures situation with, I guess, the nature of what happened with his recruitment with UConn. It was something that he wanted to have a really big game, and it just seemed like everybody took on his personality, just rush. At halftime, we told him to slow down because we felt like we can get whatever we wanted on the offensive end, just protect the basketball, and that's basically was the message.
Talking about how important DJ is, how did you find out that he had that injury, and what did your reaction look like the second you found out?
Chris Simmons, our trainer, called me yesterday and told me the news, and I was speechless for about 45 seconds. I was trying to find the words to I wanted to feel for DJ, like, hey, man, I can't believe this happened to DJ. And then I'm scrambling as a coach going, man, the time frame of what they were guessing before the MRI, and then once the MRI came, I had to be positive right away. Hey, from our point of view, like, I hate it for DJ, but we've been here before. We didn't have Lester. We didn't have James. And we strung it together. So I feel like that group of guys in there have been through so much adversity, it makes them grow together more because they're going to want to do it for DJ. But, man, I was speechless for the first 45 seconds for sure.
Just to follow up, you mentioned Precious's recruitment with UConn. What did you mean by that?
I'm saying, like, I think he was being heavily recruited by UConn, and they thought they had him signed or whatever, so that's what I meant. by that. It was one of those games. He and Lester are from that area, you know, the New York area or whatever. They know a lot of those guys, and wanted to have a big game. And I think they kind of worked against Precious for sure. He ended up having a much better second half.